Well, hey, welcome back, guys, to episode 2 of the Southern Pursuit self-filming series. I hope y'all enjoyed the first one on our camera arm review. Now, for episode 2, we're going to talk about the cameras we use. We're going to talk about our primary camera as well as our secondary camera. So first off, we're going to talk about our primary camera, which is the Canon G20. The Canon G20 is a handy cam. It's priced at $799 retail off of the Canon website. Now you can find this camera cheaper like I did on eBay or Amazon, and you can also find package deals on CampbellCameras.com. That package deal can include a camera arm, a fluid head, an external mic, and a lot of other things. So if y'all want to, go to Campbell Cameras and check that out. They've got some really good products. So like I said, this is my primary camera. I use this on my muddy camera arm with my fluid head, and I use a VariZoom remote for my zooming and recording purposes. Now the things you may wonder on a camera is how good does it zoom, how good is it autofocus, and how does its battery life hold up. First things first, on the zoom on this camera, it has a very decent zoom. I put as a medium rating just due to the fact that it will zoom, and it'll zoom a pretty decent distance, but the further you zoom, the lower your image quality goes and the more grainy your footage gets. And especially in low light situations, the more zoom you use, the less light you collect. Now it has a very good manual zoom on the top that you use, but I've found it easier to use that remote, and I'll be able to give y'all a video on the accessories later of my cameras and my point of view angles. Now the autofocus on this camera is fairly decent. That's what I use. I don't use the manual focus. Now with the manual focus, it does have this ring right here. It's pretty easy to turn, so I usually just use my VariZoom remote where I can focus in and focus out real easy just with the press of a button. As to give y'all kind of an idea of what kind of audio you'll get with this camera without an external mic, I'm actually going to record my review for my Canon T6i with this camera with no external audio, nothing at all, just the plain camera audio, and y'all will be able to see how that does. I think it does fairly good. But anything sounds better if you do have an external mic. So on the side right here, it has your recording settings, which is auto, manual, and cinematic. So once you go into each one of those options, you have different settings you can use to, one, make it more kind of like a movie, which to me it adds too much color and makes you look like a Oompa Loompa, very orange and such. But so I keep mine on manual at all times to where I have full control over it. And that's been able to help me. And then even opening the inside, you can see where your settings are and what you can do. This camera, as you can see, has a Campbell Cameras sticker on it. So this camera, the person I bought it from had bought it from Campbell Cameras, got the skin wrap on it and everything. So I would highly recommend Campbell Cameras for looking for your next camera needs. They're a great company, usually have everything you need. And if you can't find it there, you can find it on Amazon. So some of the features on this camera that I really like is the flip out screen and how it flips back and forth. You can actually turn this all the way around when you're doing a interview. Very easy to see yourself and make sure the image looks like you like it. But if you don't like how you look, you're just stuck with it. That's just part of it. But I'm kidding, guys. Interviews are one of the hardest things to do when doing self-filming. One of the things on this camera that I really like is the hood for the sun and to reflect it and keep it shaded. It's got a little lever in here that lets you open and close your lens to allow you to protect that lens and keep it from being scratched. And just very beneficial to me walking through the woods in thick stuff and just trying to protect it. Okay guys, another feature that I'm going to tell you all about on this camera that I really like is we're always worried about space with our SD cards, how much we're going to have and whatnot. Well, this camera actually has 2 SD card slots, an A and a B, and it also has 32 gigabytes of internal storage. So you're never really going to have to worry about running out of room. So say you fill up your SD cards in both of your storage compartments, it's just going to start putting them on that internal hard drive, and when you get done filming, you can go to the house. You can actually convert that footage from your hard body camera back onto your SD card without even touching the computer. So that's really one of the big highlights of this camera that I like. Now, I would recommend this to a self-filmer as your primary camera. I would tell you to get this all day long because it is a great product, a great camera. It holds up good. I've dropped it out of the stand. I really don't want to tell y'all how many times I've dropped it out of the stand, but it still videos, which is very, very good. If you don't know what a DSLR is, it's basically what your mom took pictures of you with as a child, but it also can do video. I don't know the exact definition of what the DSLR is, but as far as I know, it's a great camera, and that's why I use it. And here's some of the reasons why I use it. So first off, as a self-filmer, you're constantly trying to tell your story to the viewer. So a lot that goes into that is me and my video production. I like to use a lot of B-roll to tell my story. And B-roll is, say you're sitting in a stand, you're just going to video the area, or you walking through the woods, or a bird chirping in the background like you may hear in this video. But it's just to help piece your whole hunting story together and give the viewer a lifelike experience like they're there on your hunt with you. The price of this camera starts at $7.99. Now that's coming off of Canon's website. You can find this camera a lot cheaper off of Amazon or eBay, and you can also get bundle deals where it comes with a different lens, a tripod, SD cards, extra batteries, stuff like that. You can really get a good deal on it. I think sometimes you can find them around $550, $600, all decked out with everything you need to start filming. So this is the Canon T6i. This is a DSLR camera that I use every day. I take pictures with it, I video hunts with it. It's what I use. It's probably my favorite camera. It's nice, small, and compact. Very easy to use. As far as the zoom for this camera, unlike the Handycam that I said before, it does not have a toggle switch where you can use. This is actually manually done with hand, so two hands should be on the camera at all times, which takes away from the self-filming. If you're having your bow in your hand and then trying to fiddle with this camera at the same time, it usually doesn't work very well. Now another thing on the zoom is the interchangeable lenses with these Canon cameras. Now this one comes out real easy, just press the button and it comes out. Now I have another lens that I swap in if I want to get a further shot. Now that's going to take time. Say if a deer's out there and you want to get a shot of them, you don't want to be changing lenses and make all that movement and possibly spook that deer. So with this lens, it just goes right back in, turns, and it's good to go. Now as far as autofocus on this camera, it does have an autofocus option, but unlike my Handycam, it picks up on stuff in a very different way. It's more I'd say it's more specific on what it picks up. So you could be panning and it's going to pick up on the littlest twig, and your kill shot of that deer you just shot is done because it's all out of focus, blurry, and you can't see it. So as far as the autofocus, don't count on it with this, and that's what I personally think. I've used it before. Now if I'm videoing somebody, I use this and I keep it on manual focus and work it myself so I avoid those obstacles. Now to cover the audio on this camera, it doesn't have a very good audio box on the inside. Now it will pick up just you talking and having normal conversation, but when you add a mic, an external mic, I had this problem this year, it changes everything, changes all your settings, a lot of hiss in the background, not very clean, but it still gets the job done. So as far as wanting to do audio with this camera, you're going to have to buy probably one of the best aftermarket mics out there and put on this to, one, get rid of your hiss, and two, to be able to pick up on those just faint and subtle sounds. As far as options on this camera and what this camera can do, it can do a lot, and I still haven't been able to tweak and mess with all the settings like a lot of people do, knowing your aperture and your f-stop and whatnot. But it has a very good job. It has a manual setting, has a portrait setting if you're doing like an interview with somebody or just taking headshot pictures. It's a very good camera for that, but has a bunch of different buttons on it, and I can't tell you what all of them do. Sometimes I'll press them until I get the right one, but has a lot of different filters you can put on this, whether it's a cloudy day, a sunny day, or just overcast. Just has a big variety of different settings, and you have a tungsten mode and just low light conditions. Very good camera. Real quick, I'm going to tell y'all about a couple of the features on this camera that I really enjoy. It's got a good grip, just kind of a textured grip on the side right here to minimize slip and possibly dropping the camera. Another cool thing on this camera is it has the flip out screen. The T6 does not have the flip out screen, but the T6i does. That's very beneficial when I'm taking different shots at different positions. Another thing on this camera is the screen right here is touch screen. So anything you do, you can just slide with your finger or a stylus, you know, anything that makes it easier for you as the user. It has a bunch of different modes, from just flipping from video to photo, very nice and simple from there. But probably my favorite feature on this camera is the Bluetooth. I hadn't experienced it with the other cameras I've used, but you can hook this camera with an SD card in it right up to your phone in the field, turn it on, and you can send your pictures directly to your phone in the field. So you have those pictures and also videos in just a matter of seconds through this Bluetooth app on the phone. So how I use this camera in my self-filming setup. I use this as a secondary angle camera when I'm in the stand, and that's a camera that hangs over my head, that shoots down on me and what I'm doing during the hunt, and just to give it that extra angle and just kind of a bird's eye view or a mosquito on a wall kind of view for the viewer to feel like they're actually there. Like I stated before, I use it a lot for B-roll, just walking through the woods. This is the camera that I carry with me. I'm able to shoot stuff, get very good crisp footage. I use it for my harvest pictures. That's a big deal for me. I want a good picture to remember that memory for the rest of my life, because I've worked hard to get to that point, and I want a camera and a picture that can reflect that image for the rest of my life, to where I can tell other people the story and keep my passion going. Very good camera. It's got a good body, and just remember, a lens is usually what can make or break your camera and take you to that next level. Now, like I said before, if you're just going to video somebody, some of your buddies going to sit in the stand, I highly recommend this camera just due to the quality of your video. Very good camera. That's what I would go with if I was videoing somebody. But as for a self-filmer, secondary camera, and you won't regret it. You'll enjoy this camera. So if y'all enjoyed this video, subscribe down below, and as well like it and share it with your friends, guys. We're going to have another episode coming to you next week on our self-filming series, so stay tuned and watch out for it.